All right, well, thank you very much for joining in on this episode of the podcast Hostel. Now, I wanted to talk about something that definitely isn't talked about enough. That's called the gospel. Now, in this episode, I met a very interesting man called Andrew Jacoby while I was at the Switzerland Nomad Fest. And we kind of actually captured the first conversation we actually had together. And the man had a very interesting life. Like me, he was a musician. Like me, he grew up very much an atheist. Like me, he's got a little entrepreneurial edge. He ended up building a company in Macedonia that's quite successful. But more than anything, he wanted to talk about spiritual matters. His spiritual journey was quite interesting. He started out very atheist like myself. Ended up becoming a bit of a new age yoga guru hippie type. Ended up joining a cult, in fact. He talks about that in the conversation. But in the end, all roads lead to Christ when you're searching spiritually, which is something I truly believe. And I just want to make one little point. Faith is not irrational. Understanding and knowing that there's a creator is the first and most important piece of wisdom that a person can have in their lives. It took me about 27 years to understand that before I came to it. But before we get into it, I want to sing a song. This is older than the Civil War in America. I believe Wikipedia says this was published around 1858. It's a very old song. It goes by a number of names. I picked this up from Johnny Cash, though. But I'm going to call it a little something different than the most well-known versions of it. It was originally called I Am a Poor Wayfaring Pilgrim. Now it's mostly known as Wayfaring Stranger. But the name of this episode is From Digital Nomad to Pilgrim, talking about Andrew's spiritual and entrepreneurial journey. So I want to sing it like this. I am a poor wayfaring pilgrim, traveling through this world alone. There is no sickness, no toil or danger can keep me from the road I'm on. I'm going there to meet my Father. I'm going there to God's golden shore. I'm gonna cross that river Jordan. Won't you take me home? I know dark clouds are gathering round me, and I know my road is long and cold. Oh, but Lord, I know you guide me. I know you guide me to that shore. I'm going there to meet my mother. I'm going there, Lord, take me home. am a poor wayfaring pilgrim, and I know my road is long and cold. All right, we're rolling, baby.
We're started already?
We're starting.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the podcast Hostel. I'm your host, Milan Milutinovic, and today I found a very special guest at the Swiss Nomad Fest. His name is Andrew Jacoby. Jacoby, sorry. Still learning here. We're getting to know each other on air, which I think is quite interesting.
Amen.
Amen. And I guess three portions of your life that interested me the most was you started out your life as a street musician. Then you became...
I was a baby first before that.
Well, you're a baby. All right. We were all babies. I wasn't. Actually, right. I was born a grown man.
I was born a poor black man. Who gets that reference gets $1.
And then in the middle of your life...
Give you a hint. It's Steve Martin movie.
Steve Martin, okay.
Sorry.
And then you became a entrepreneur, did a bit of outsourcing in the Balkans.
I did.
And recently you've become an convert to the Catholic faith.
Amen.
And you like your theology and your philosophy. Which,
I do.
Which is great because something that is quite rare in this community. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who's...
I know. That's why we met here, man, because of that. The Lord brought us together.
I believe that.
Don't say that amongst the digital nomads. They think you're weird.
We're going to get canceled.
Dude, you need another ayahuasca hit, bro.
Man, I've done ayahuasca, and all I realized was you just need God. You already have Him. Why are you doing this?
Everyone, at the amount of times that people try to sell me on the ayahuasca, it's like they do the hard sell in this community, man. They're all, dude, is the plant calling you, bro?
Like, I let the medicine speak through me.
Yeah,
yeah, I had a shaman.
I'm like,
yo, bro.
I'm like, you have no shot. I'm like, I'm not touching that stuff.
It's nonsense.
With a 10-foot pole.
You didn't try it, though.
No.
You're not missing out. I did try it just to say I tried it.
No.
And I believed the hype for a hot minute. But I think... by the time I was vomiting in a prayer circle of hippies, I realized...
That's not a great sales pitch, by the way. By the way, the first thing you're going to do is vomit uncontrollably for an hour.
Yeah, but that's like, but you're purging. It's
right,
like,
no, you're vomiting.
Yeah, I'm vomiting because you're giving me poison. And I'm hallucinating because I'm giving poison. Yeah, and that kind of, it destroyed all drugs for me. I'm done, bro. Like, I was already kind of done. And I was like, you just need God, boy.
Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Amen. That's
Hallelujah.
right. That's
but
right.
let's start early on in your
it.
journey, because we both were kind of, you were a street musician. Yeah. I was a blues musician. I did a fair bit of busking.
You're like the me with hair.
I'm you with hair, baby.
And like, how old are you? You're like in 20 years more of life.
31. How old are you, Andrew?
I'm 50.
Okay.
So 19 more years.
Right.
I'm you in 19 years.
In 19 years, baby. So yeah, when did you talk to me about your early days in music? When did you fall in love with music?
Well, I was at first, when I was a kid, I was a tennis player. I went to Harry Hopman, who's a Australian guy who had a tennis school.
Harry Hopman.
Yeah, he was a tennis school. He was the Davis Cup captain for Team Australia for a while.
He had a tennis school in America.
In Florida, yeah, I was there. So we played tennis from 7 to 9.
Florida? You grew up in
No, I grew up in Philly, but I went to tennis school. We played tennis from 7 to 9 in the morning, went to school for 5 hours, then played tennis again from 4 to 8 at night. Yep. Something like that. It was a crazy schedule.
Yeah.
And then I fell in love with this little Mexican girl named Rocio, and I stopped caring about music, but like she was Catholic and I was Jewish, and so her parents really didn't like. We were really in love, man. Like we were really in love. Like we were deep in love, and she was my world. I was like 16 or 17, and she was like 14 or 15, and we were like Romeo and Juliet.
True love.
And
beautiful.
And then she left because her parents were freaking out about her maybe like, doing something crazy with a Jewish guy.
Really?
Yeah. And then I just lost all interest in tennis, and I started to experiment a little bit with some substances.
Okay.
And the school decided that I wasn't a good fit for the school anymore based upon my usage of those substances.
Right.
So I had to come and start a new school second half of my senior year.
Okay.
And the thing that saved me from that depression and sadness was that just like my whole life falling apart was the guitar. My dad was a guitar player,
Beautiful.
and he taught me for the first time when I was 18.
But you lost all interest in tennis, like.
Yeah, I lost all interest in everything except
you.
for Rocio. Like I love, man.
Rocio.
That's all. Rocio Pesado Suarez Aramburu. If you're there,
shout out,
still
baby.
love you. Back in the day, but anyway, so I lost all interest in everything but her.
Right. Okay.
And then I started to write bad poetry and want to like. Play
That's how it
music. It's like
begins,
all
bad
I could
poetry.
listen to was like sad music.
Yeah.
It was the only thing that was like helping me was listening to music because I didn't.
Right.
Tennis didn't matter to me. I mean, I played in college, whatever, but it didn't really matter to me anymore. My heart got so broken, and there was so much suffering based upon the dissolution of that deal with her that the guitar was really. And then when I found the guitar, it was like. Oh my God, this is amazing! This is what I'm all about.
You were what? 16,
I was 18.
17,
I was 18.
Cool.
And then from that moment on, that was it.
It's
but
all
the
about
problem
it.
was that, my heroes went from being like Andre Agassi and Ivan Lendl, so like really serious athletes, super clean, to like, black drunk heroin addicts, essentially.
Yeah.
Like blues players and Eric Clapton. I'm like, oh, well, if Eric Clapton smokes cigarettes, I got to smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
If Eric Clapton dabbled in whatever, I got to do that. If he's an alcoholic, I got to become an alcoholic if I want to play like him.
it kind of makes
Which,
it
by the
okay.
way, is a really stupid amount of stupid bit of reasoning, so don't do that. But that was what I did at 18
No,
or
it's
19.
very natural. I mean, at that age, I had a very similar line of thinking.
Yeah,
It took me a while to realize, like, Milan, they're not perfect people, and in fact, they had a lot of vices, and a lot of them died young. For
exactly.
A lot
27 is the magic.
Yeah,
age.
how sad to have died at 27.
Yeah, totally. So that was that, and then I got into college, and all I cared about in college was music. So I played in a blues
studying
band.
Music in college?
No, I was studying whatever was the least exact answer sort of mechanism. So meaning like the opposite of math.
Right.
So like where you could just BS all the answers.
Right.
So literature and political philosophy.
Right.
So I was really into that. Was like I wasn't that into literature,
you
but
did
I
enjoy high school, and you enjoy the structural
I didn't care. I
education.
mean,
it didn't mean much.
School was never much my thing. Like I
Yeah.
didn't like to sit still like
No.
that. I like to be out on the court playing ball.
Yeah.
Or I like to read. I love to learn. I'm more of an autodidact. I like to learn what
same.
I'm interested in learning.
Yeah, for
I don't want.
sure.
If you tell me I have to learn this,
Yeah.
I'm like I don't.
I hate it
like,
already.
Well, it's no. If I'm interested, great.
Yeah.
And those are the teachers that were able to sell me on stuff. So I
Yeah.
had some great teachers.
Yeah.
But mostly I'm just into learning myself. Like
And when you turned to music, did you look at it as a profession, or was it just a pure creative outlet?
It was just like a solution.
Yeah.
I just looked at it as a solution. It was just like, I could enter this world.
Yeah.
And the pain of my world went away, and I was in this beautiful place where I could play like
It's amazing.
I don't know, Over the
Power
Hills and
music.
Far Away by Led Zeppelin, or Wish You Were Here.
Yeah.
And so these songs that I
classic.
idolized,
Yeah.
I could like sort of play.
Yeah.
And then I got to college and I met other players.
Yeah.
And then we started to form bands.
Yeah.
And I was in a blues band and like
Were you singing as well? Or just
yeah,
playing guitar?
I wasn't singing in the blues band, Red Beans and Rice.
Red beans and rice.
Yeah, from a Freddie King song. I
Nice.
told you once, I told you twice. We go together like red beans and rice.
That's great.
I think that's from the same songs of Big Leg Woman with a short mini skirt from Freddie King. But anyway, so I was in that band just playing guitar, but I was also singing and writing songs too in other bands, in other sort of things.
You had a few projects.
Yeah, I had a few projects, but that was the most successful one was that blues band. They're actually still going under the name of Dwight and Nicole, so check them out. They're actually really good. Although he stole my amp and I don't like him anymore, but and he kicked me out of the band, which I started. But anyway, Dwight, I forgive you, my man.
Let it out.
Thank God I became a
Andrew.
Christian for you because you're forgiven. Have the amp, enjoy it. It's a 1975 twin super reverb, but keep it, whatever.
All right.
So anyway, I got kicked out of the bands, and I just found that so from age
Why'd you get kicked out? Were you drinking at that time? Were you,
there was a
wreck?
lot of that. No, what happened was that the blues band, we started out just about getting drunk and playing blues. That was all we were doing.
Right.
And then I got us this gig. We didn't practice. We didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I just got us a gig at a local pizza spot because we couldn't get a gig at any of the bars in town that were real.
Right.
But we took over this local pizza spot on Thursday night for free pizza and beer.
Yeah.
And it turned into the spot. And then all the
Nice.
bars, all the other clubs started to come to us. And we started to do really well. But the problem was that we didn't take it seriously from the beginning.
You
We
didn't look
weren't
at it
looking
as
at
a
it right. And then
professional
all of a
project.
sudden, people wanted to give us money to record.
Right.
People wanted to go get us on tour.
Really?
All kinds of stuff. Yeah, because
Amazing.
we were for like the non-touring bands, we were like a big draw in that town at that moment.
Yeah.
But then there was a split.
How old were you at this point?
I'm in like right after college,
22,
like early
23,
20s, early 20s. And I was working all kinds of terrible jobs. I was a dishwasher.
Right.
I was a parking lot attendant, which actually that was a great job. Dishwasher was a terrible job. Short order cook was a terrible job. But parking lot attendant was a great job because all I did was smoke cigarettes and sit in a little booth and just read for like 8 hours a day. And that was amazing.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take my body for $5 an hour, at least I'm going to keep my mind, you know? And I'm not going to chop off one of my fingers or burn myself on your stupid grill or you're digging.
So you're earning $5 an hour.
Your grease pit. If anybody's ever worked in a restaurant, if you've never been a dish dog, nobody knows what the grease pit is. The grease pit is where all of the grease gets trapped from a restaurant and it has to be emptied. And it is ungodly. It is the most disgusting smelling spot on earth. And the dish dog has to empty that thing every night. And that was me. I have to go into this like Dante's seventh circle of hell.
Yeah.
Into this
dish
thing.
dog by day.
Dish dog by day. Blues band by
night.
night. I was also writing, so I was also a writer. I write stories and essays. So I was writing for the local
stories.
Yeah, I was writing like a fiction. I write fiction, poetry, songs.
Okay.
And at that time, I was writing for the local arts paper. So I was doing like the artist life, you know. And then till 25 hit, and I was just like, okay, I gave this thing like 5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm still like essentially impoverished.
Yeah.
And I'm like more or less addicted to multiple substances.
Yeah.
I'm spending all my time around areas like bars.
Yeah.
Where addiction is, you know, kind of like what you do.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I can't do this. I'm like, I'm going to be dead. Like, I'm not going to make. If this is what the musician's lifestyle is that I was so into, I can't do this.
It's not very.
Do
it's so glorifiable when you're young and 16, but when you look at it, it's like, wow, it's really not.
When you live it and you're like, okay, I live on a couch or I live in this dump.
Yeah.
I live in a dump with other dudes on the couch and like just craziness and like all kinds of drugs happening and all kinds of craziness.
Yeah.
I'm playing gigs and the people are stealing the money and like, just craziness, man. And so, I was really into John Coltrane at the time, and he had this church in San Francisco. There was a church dedicated to his music.
Really?
Where they would play A Love Supreme.
Really?
And he overcame his addiction to drugs and alcohol through music.
Really?
So I went on a pilgrimage I was in Burlington, Vermont. And I went on a pilgrimage to San Francisco to go to the John Coltrane church so he could heal me from my drug addiction.
Did he start the church himself, or was
no,
it dedicated
this is people
to him?
just pray to his music, using his music.
Really?
It was really
church
weird.
Still around?
I don't know. It's a good question. 1998, it was around.
1998.
So I was really into Coltrane.
But his music was very spiritual.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
He was a very spiritual character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was he a Christian?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know because I wasn't interested at that point. I wouldn't care.
At that point, religion. You didn't think.
Yeah,
about
it didn't matter to.
Yeah.
So I went out to visit him, and I was following a girl. She worked at Burton Snowboards, and she was going out to San Francisco, so I followed her. She broke up with me. I ended up sleeping in the airport the first night. Then I moved into a hostel in the Lower Haight.
Right.
And I got into business because I had no money, and I answered an ad in the paper that said, accelerate your income. And that was the only job I could find, and I didn't know what it was. All I had to do was pass a drug test, fake a resume, and put on a suit that I bought at Goodwill for like $5.
So you bought a cheap suit.
I bought a cheap suit. I passed a drug test by drinking some funky smelling stuff.
And you were drunk at that point. You were
No. I was just smoking some weed. I was drinking a little bit. I wasn't that crazy actually. It was kind of like relatively under control. But and it was car sales.
Right.
And
so your first job was
car sales. And
I'm just going to take a little break. We're having a little issue with the camera. We'll be back in a second.
We'll be back. 1 minute. Dude, we're killing it.
And we're back.
Yes. Amen. Hallelujah.
So, Andrew, you were talking about
in San Francisco car business.
Yeah, the first kind of job you had after the whole musician part of your career in life.
So I went to that, and I turned out that I really thrived. I mean, the way they were doing it, basically they'll give anybody a job who can fog up a mirror. That's it.
What do you
They'll
mean?
give you 90 days.
What do you mean fuck up a mirror?
Meaning like you're alive.
And
you can speak English. They'll give you a job.
They'll give you a chance.
Because it's only commission only.
Okay.
So they give you $2,000 salary, which is not a salary. It's a draw against future. It's a draw against commission.
So you have to earn that back.
You have to earn that back. So they're just like, we'll give everybody 90 days, and they'll try 10 people and keep one.
Right.
And it turns out I was a killer. Like I went in and I was the #1 sales rep.
You naturally could.
I just
sell
was naturally
because
I was like
about cars, or
I could care less about cars. Like I didn't care.
What made you a good salesman then?
I finally realized that I had one sales technique, which was the person would come in. I'm sitting next to you.
Yeah.
You're like my prospect, and I would say, look, man, this is a Saturday. Do you really want to spend your Saturday talking to idiots like me?
Yeah.
Like really?
Really?
Dude, it's a Toyota. Buy the stupid thing. You want it in black or white? Just get done with this process. Let me help you.
Right.
Let's just do this now.
Yeah, right.
It's just a car.
Right.
Like they're all Hondas. Like whatever.
People reacted to that.
It's a friggin' Honda.
Right.
Just do it. Right?
Yeah.
So that was it. So I just pushed people to do the deal because they're just like, and they needed to get over their indecision.
Right.
And they're all new cars. They're all fine. They all have warranties.
Oh, they were new
just
cars.
I would sell new, but I liked selling used better because you can make better margins on used.
Right.
And I had a side business where I was buying cars and selling them. Like when the dealership didn't want them, I would buy them and then.
But so what you say? You don't care. You didn't care about cars, but clearly you knew something about them.
No, I didn't know anything about them. I just knew about sales, knew about people.
Yeah.
So I knew you have a need in the car.
Where did that come from?
The car. Look, my family's
your
Jewish.
knowledge
like,
to say,
right.
It's a Jewish family.
Yeah, because like my grandfather came over, fought with General Patton in World War II, came back, didn't go to college, but started a business in the jewelry business.
What do you mean he fought with General Patton?
Well, he was in
Patton's.
He was in the like Battle of the Bulge. Like he was
really
he fought. Yeah, like he was.
Wow.
Yeah, he showed up at D-Day. He wasn't on D-Day, but D-Day +3.
Wow.
And he was like in the European theater when the Allied invasion was there, and he was decorated personally by General George Patton.
Wow.
And when he died, he asked me, the one thing he asked me when he was dying, he said, make sure I have my Bronze Star from that General Patton gave me.
Wow.
And I thought it was interesting because I was like, don't you want a picture of me in your like grave? He's like, no, I want the picture. I want the medal that General Patton gave me. Anyway, the point is that my father started a business. He ran a business, the family business, the jewelry business.
Right.
So it's just a round business my whole life, and it comes with the Jewish territory.
Yeah.
A little bit. Just like that's just part of the deal with the Jewish thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did that, and then at one point, my buddy from high school, from the tennis high school, called me up, and he's like, "Hey, I'm getting married," and I'm like, "Why would you do that? Why would you get married?" He's like, "I'm getting married," and he's like, "What do you do?" I hadn't spoken to him for years.
Yeah.
So he's like, some girl bailed him out of jail. And
Really?
he got married because she bailed him. Well, he didn't get married because of this, but like the sequence of events was he got a DWI. His parents wouldn't bail him out because they were like these Midwest like tough people.
Okay.
They're like, you made your bed, son, lie in it kind of thing.
Right.
So he had this girl he was dating. She bailed him out.
Right.
He was on the hook to her for like $15,000 or I don't know, whatever it was.
Right.
And then he married her. And so whatever. So he called me up. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm selling cars. He's like, bro. He's like, it's 1998.
Yeah.
And it's San Francisco.
Right.
You're in the car business?
Yeah.
Come with me. Well, I'm in the computer business. We're in something called a .com boom here. We gotta get it. You gotta get in the computer game.
You never heard of that .com boom?
I didn't care.
You didn't know about computers?
No, whatever. I didn't care that much. But he took me into the computer thing.
Right.
Which was like much less interesting sales-wise, because then it was like the car business was basically you sat around, you smoked cigarettes with your boys, drank coffee, and then a bunch of people showed up with the newspaper saying, "Hey, where's this cheap car?
Right.
Oh, we sold that one, but I've got a really nice one over here." Right? Like that's the whole car business.
Right.
The computer business was like, "Hey, buddy, come to this stupid office, sit in this stupid cubicle, and like here's a phone, and here's a like yellow pages. Talk to me at the end of the month,
right?
You know,
and
so
you're doing cold sales.
You're just doing cold calls, and there were much. It was all just like nerdy white people and some Indian dudes. Like in the car business, you had everybody.
Right.
You had Filipinos, you had Hispanics, Jews.
Right.
It was like Russian immigrants. Like it was super interesting.
Everybody needs a car.
The tech business was all like white dudes and Indian dudes with like whatever. It got a little boring.
Right.
Like ethnically, it was like kind of like a little bit beat. But anyway, so Yeah, so I started doing that kind of sales. It was all cold call sales, and that's how I ultimately my business that I started.
You were cold calling businesses or homes?
Businesses. Yeah.
Right.
We were selling Microsoft training, we were selling Novell training, Oracle training, and consulting to the state of California and to businesses in the San Francisco
And you felt
area.
very comfortable doing cold sales?
I didn't love it. No, I ended up leaving that gig after a while because I just didn't like the cold call piece of it.
No,
I
nobody
didn't like
likes
all that.
cold calling.
Yeah, it sucks.
Surely,
but I did it, and I was good at it, but I just didn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't
but
like
that was
what I was
better money than the car business then, I guess. So.
Well, I mean,
did you feel that you were?
Yeah, I made good money, but I spent it all because I hated what I was doing.
Right.
So I had to
spend
in order to deal with the fact that I hated it. So I was like, oh, at least I got a nice car, or at least I got a nice TV.
Right.
I was on that thing, and that was kind of stupid. So anyway, that's really that was the end of the line for the. Then I went and worked at a charity for a while for autistic kids.
That's a bit
in the wood. Yeah, so I was like, I got to get out of this thing.
Right.
And then I did that, but that turned out to be a cult. So I joined a cult for about a year and a half.
Really? What kind of cult?
Yeah, it was like I had this T-shirt idea called "Ask Me About My Bizarre Utopian Cult."
Right.
So
well,
like that.
Here's the time to talk about it.
Right.
What do you mean they were a cult?
Well, it's like, I mean, that's a whole long story in itself. It was a cult. It was like a new age kind of like cult essentially, but I want to I'll get that into it. But it was a nice place. It was nice people.
Okay,
but there was a little bit of
a soft cult, not a.
Yeah,
not
it wasn't hard. No, it was. They were nice people.
Cult.
They were doing good things, but it was just like this cult of personality all around the leader, and I know I'm going out to dinner with the family, and it's like
who's
weird.
The leader? What was,
whatever.
Why was
it was
he
just
so
like weird, man. The guy was really charismatic.
What made him charismatic?
He was just a great salesman. He was a Jewish guy. He was a Jewish advertising executive who turned hippie.
You guys should have got along then.
Yeah, it was great. We got along great. He was great. He actually taught me a lot. I learned a lot there. But they had this. They had.
So you learned at the cult. Really?
I learned a huge amount. I learned from everything.
Yeah.
There's this great line from Edmund Burke. He said, "Experience is the school of mankind, for he will learn at no other." So the only way you learn anything is getting bashed in the face.
I agree.
You just got to do it.
From your mistakes, from your fuck-ups, you can't be learning from.
But at that cult, I was playing open mics and I met a girl. Who was from the local community, but not from the cult. She was in the local community, and we hit it off. I'll send you some of the songs we did, man. You can put them up. It was amazing.
Together as well.
Yeah, we became a band.
Oh wow, amazing.
And yeah, she was amazing, and we lived together for a while. She grew up but she didn't want. And I asked her, I'm like, hey, will you do this music thing? Because it was the first time I was like, man, what we're doing here is the best thing I found since my blues band back in college. Yeah. And this is like
just
the year
felt
2000.
right.
It was just right, and we were awesome.
Amazing.
And we wrote great songs. We shouldn't have dated, but whatever we did.
Hey, how could you
It was what it was. And then she was like, she said, I don't want to do that because I don't want to live the musician's lifestyle. Right. So she threw that back in my face. And I'm like, come on, we should totally do this.
She's like, I don't want to do during the cult period? About
this was like, this is like late 20s, I would say. Yeah, late 20s or late 20s. Yeah, mid to late 20s.
Okay, so you meet the girl, you have the band.
We moved to New York City because her family, she grew up, her dad was a Hollywood director. So he wrote and directed a movie called Mannequin.
Was she Jewish as well? Or?
She was half Jewish, half not.
Nice.
Her father was this crazy Jewish director in Hollywood. Right. And he was interesting because he made all these really famous Hertz commercials with O.J. Simpson.
Hertz?
Yeah. He made Hertz O.J. Simpson commercials. Yeah, he made Hertz commercials with O.J. Simpson. Then he made a movie with Kim Cattrall and Andrew Spade, this movie called Mannequin, which was a big movie in the 80s. It was a huge movie. Look it up. Kim Cattrall is in it from Sex and the City. It's a really big movie. So she grew up Hollywood, whatever. So she had a lot of connections in the film business. She wanted to get into film. She's like, I got to go to New York City. I'm like, all right, I'll go to New York City with you. So I went with her to New York City. Then 9/11 happened while I was in New York City, and that was a big turning point. Right. Because that threw me off everything.
Changed the city as well, I guess.
What's up? Oh, my God. It was amazing. That day, to live in New York City during that day. So I woke up, and her dad called me on the phone. Right. And was like, where's my daughter? And I'm like, I don't know. She's on her way to work. I'm in Brooklyn. She's in wherever. He's like, do you know what's happening? I'm like, no. And he's like, where is she? I'm like, I don't know. So I didn't know if she was alive or dead for hours. Wow. And so I got all these people and then I walk outside and it was a beautiful day. And then it turned into everything was orange. Yep. And it was snowing white. Right. Because of the ashes. And I'm breathing in this building and these people that burned in the building and wow. and everybody's freaking out because they thought that there was anthrax in the smoke, so we're dying of the anthrax.
Right.
And like I had to drag my apartment completely filled with smoke. My dog, I had to drag my dog out of the apartment.
Wow.
And it was really weird because her dad didn't call, and he was like, okay, I want you guys to come up to the mountains tonight. I'm like, well, I finally found the girls, and they were cool. It's me, Sarah, her sister, and her sister's boyfriend. Right. And her dad called me. He's like, look, I want the girls up north, and I'm up north I want you out of that city because I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, look, I talked to them. They don't want to go. He's like, look, man, I'm not asking you to ask them if they want to go.
Right.
Like, you're the man.
Take them. Yeah.
You have the permission to like take them.
Right.
So you can like throw them over your shoulder, caveman style. Throw them in the effing truck.
He was demanding you take
throw them
his
in the
daughter
effing
out.
truck and get them out of that city.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, girls, like we're going up north. Anyway, so that was really strange. And it sent me on a kind of a really long, that was the big spiritual turning point. Number one, because I thought my life was going to unfold in a certain way.
Right.
And then it turned completely different. Like I thought, here was what's going to happen today.
Right.
And then I woke up and 9/11 punched me in the face.
Wow.
I was like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no control over the future. You don't know what you're talking about. It's whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and you don't know you have no plan.
Yeah.
Right? So that was a huge, that scrambles your brain spiritually. And then I had massive sort of
But you were an
attacks.
atheist at this point. What was your view on God?
I was totally atheist. I didn't care.
Atheist.
I didn't care.
You grew up Jewish though.
Yeah, I grew up Jewish, but I was like atheist. I didn't really care. None of that mattered.
Did you eat pork?
Okay. Yeah, well, I would eat pork. Yeah, I don't care.
You would? Okay, so
care.
at that point, you
I didn't
truly
care.
didn't care.
My mom grew up Orthodox, so her side of the family
Orthodox
was like black
Jewish.
hat, Jewish, serious Jewish. My dad was
really?
like
She was
Seinfeld
Orthodox.
Jewish.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad was like Seinfeld Jewish.
Right.
So this sent me on this huge thing because I started to have all kinds of panic attacks after this 9/11 experience.
Yeah.
I started to, it just got crazy, and so I was looking for solutions to like my nervousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like I just was lost control of my nerves. Like I was just like out of control. So I tried Buddhism, and I went down the Hindu yoga path.
Right.
And so that was the start of like.
You didn't look towards Judaism at the beginning. Being a Jew, I would think that would be the first.
I didn't
place
really.
to
I
try,
know you would
right?
think, right?
Yeah?
But like the Eastern, as you know, the Eastern thing is much sexier. Like in this community,
it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
cool.
so much cooler to do yoga because like they can sit there and make their belly wave.
Yeah,
and,
all
like,
the hot girls are
levitate.
into it. So I mean, you know,
so I was doing that.
The hot
deal.
young girls like it. So
yeah,
you gotta follow.
So whatever. I did like the Bikram yoga, the hot yoga, the cold yoga,
hot and cold yoga, the warm yoga.
I did it all. I did all the yoga I could do.
But
I thought I wanted to be.
Did it give you something at the time?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It helped a lot.
It did help on the journey.
It helped a lot.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it really helped a lot. I mean, I spent probably the next. I was late 20s again, so 30.
Yeah.
Spent the next decade and a half.
Yeah.
Sort of in that new age thing. Eckhart Tolle.
Classic.
You know, the whole like Be Here Now, Ram Dass.
Yeah.
This whole vibe.
There's probably about 30 of those books floating around.
Right. I was way into all of that. It really helped me actually.
Right.
I have to say, like I don't have it was a very important part of the journey.
That's good.
And but ultimately there was a few problems with it.
Yeah.
And I mean,
so you're 30 when this starts changing. This spiritual.
Well, 2001. I was born in 1973, so do the math.
Okay, 28. Let's say around that.
Yeah,
28.
So right after that, her and I broke up. I moved back to Philly.
Right.
I had to start a new business because we had in New York. I didn't say this, but I left the cult and I started my buddy, my best friend from tennis school, started a business, a startup company where he raised a bunch of money, and they were doing personalized apparel on the internet. But which is a great idea.
Personalized apparel.
Yeah, so you could design your own T-shirts.
Right.
This is 1999.
Right.
This is like 10 years too early.
Yeah.
But it was a great idea. It just was like 10 years too early. Didn't work out.
Didn't work out.
But anyway, I was in New York. I went home. I had to start my own thing. So I was doing I started the entrepreneurial thing a little bit. I'm like, I started working with a rocket scientist who has 2 patents on the second atomic weapon, on some like crazy weapon. This crazy dude who was using this methodology, this Japanese statistical methodology called Taguchi, in order to optimize direct mail. So
direct mail.
Direct mail, right?
What do you mean direct mail?
Direct mail, like the junk mail that you get. Because
like physical mail.
Yeah, physical mail. He was using a Japanese statistical methodology, which is multivariate analysis.
Right.
So it enables multivariate analysis, and he figured this out in a military application.
Right.
And he was applying it to junk mail, because like you could test a lot of variables, like which mail is going to work. So you could test lots of different things. In general, there's only single variate testing. So you do one list here, one list there, you change one thing, and you see which one works better. He was able to test many things at one time.
Taguchi.
Supposedly. It's called the Taguchi method. You guys can look it up. We got written up in Forbes magazine in 2003. It's called, look up Kowalik, KOWALIC.com. Kowalik Direct. Anyway, so that didn't work. We scored a number of contracts. We scored a contract with Kraft Foods. I was a speaker and he was a speaker at the Direct Marketing Association show in the early 2000s.
With this project. But what I still don't understand. So it was a form of sending the mail.
No, it was a form of testing.
A form of testing the success rate of multivariate.
Yeah, right. We were doing multivariate analysis on direct response media, essentially.
Okay. Interesting.
Right, and it didn't work because we were our deal was we'll double the direct mail results or you don't pay us. If you pay it,
which is a big promise.
And we didn't help anybody.
Classic.
Just got nowhere. So it was a terrible idea, but that was a business that completely failed. But anyway, the point is on the spiritual side, though, to switch, and we'll go back to the business thing, but on the spiritual side, the New Age was great, all that stuff, because it gets you in touch with the Holy Spirit. Like you get in the present moment, and that's where God is.
Yes.
Right?
I agree.
So you're feeling that which is beating your heart.
Yes.
You're feeling that which is, moving the blood in your body. You're getting in touch with that because God is, according to the Catholic tradition, the Christian tradition, God didn't just make the world in the beginning. He's making it now.
Yes.
Like the quantum, in a quantum reality.
Act of
it's
creation.
coming into, it's being held in creation right now. You are being held in creation.
Yes.
So through the New Age and through these practices of mindfulness and all of that, you get in touch with that.
Yeah.
But it's not a personal God.
When you look back on it now, you see that was an aspect of the Holy Spirit that you were understanding.
Right. I just didn't understand it at the time.
But you didn't understand it enough. Yeah. And I see that. I can see the value in some of that New Age
it was
stuff.
It was super valuable, but really helped me in a huge way. But the problem, there's multiple problems with it. And my story to the faith was that I was in Vienna. I lived in Vienna. I met a woman. I was playing in a band in Panama called White Chocolate because we were white, but we had soul. And we were playing.
This was after you.
This was This is when I started leaving. I started to travel. So I got married, and then after marriage, I was married for 3 months.
Wait, who'd you get married to?
I married some girl I met in Manayunk, Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia.
Okay.
We got married after 3 months of knowing each other. We were married for 3 months. Then she divorced me.
So 6 months in total.
Now she lives with a woman. Good. Hi, Jet. Good to see you, honey. She lives with a woman in Philadelphia. So anyway, that happened. I was embarrassed, so I left this is 2006.
Okay.
I left on a trip to Spain for a couple of years. And that was when the 4-hour work week came out. I read it while I was in Spain, so I was there for a couple of years. Then came back, took a break in Philly for a couple of years, and then I went full-time nomadic. I went full-time, just bought a one-way ticket and left. But anyway, so I met this girl while in Panama. I was playing in a band called White Chocolate. The band moved from Panama to Prague, so we're in Prague playing for the summer. She comes. I'm like, hey, we met down in Panama. Vienna's not that far from Prague.
Right.
So I ended up in Vienna for 10 years. So here's where it comes into the faith story.
Okay.
So I'm in Vienna, and I'm doing these meditation sessions, but I couldn't find a spot in the city, so I would go sit in churches because they were the most beautiful buildings that I could find to do my Buddhist meditation in, and they were quiet.
There were no Buddhist temples?
Well, I was in my little town. I was living in Kroneuburg. There's no Buddhist temple in Kroneuburg in some suburb of Vienna. No, there's no Buddhist temple. There's the church.
Yes.
And so I sat in that church for hours before the crucifix, before Christ.
Right.
And they have this saying in Latin called via pulchritudinis. It means the way of beauty. So the church has three main transcendentals: truth, goodness, and beauty. Right? The faith is true, the faith is good, and the faith is beautiful. And I wasn't open to the truth claims of the faith because I'm like, dude, people don't raise from the dead. That's silly and nonsensical. Number one. Number two, goodness, there's a lot of priests diddling kids around the world, and you guys weren't so great to the Jews around, let's say the Inquisition.
Yes.
So the goodness thing, I wasn't. But as an artist, sitting in that building, and on the weekends they'd have free concerts. So you could listen to like Bach's Mass in B minor, sitting in the most beautiful building I'd ever seen. And then I would leave that building and go to some modern building for like a co-working space or something. I'd be like, I'm like sitting in this stupid modern building with this stupid friggin' pragmatic cubicles and the stupid music and the paneled glass. And I'm like, okay, we call those people stupid that built that church, but they knew something about human beings and what they need much more than whoever built these stupid toys that we have and whatever. Like, okay, that's cool, but like we've lost a huge amount. And so whatever inspired those people to build that building, that's what I'm all about.
Right.
That
so you
beauty.
came at it from an artist's perspective, which is quite interesting. Me, myself, as well. The first thing that really truly drew me to Christianity and the faith was kind of that gospel music, you know, the worship music. I just thought, hey, I don't believe this, a bunch of nonsense. You know, everybody around me is like an atheist. I'm like, okay, whatever. But man, that's some good music.
Amen.
Fills the
Amen.
soul.
That's right. And so there's no question there. You don't deny. It's not deniable.
No.
Sitting in that building, listening to Handel's Messiah.
It's powerful.
It's undeniable.
It's powerful.
It's undeniable.
You can appreciate it from an atheist perspective.
It's undeniable.
Yeah.
And then at the time, I was really interested in this guy, Dr. Jordan Peterson, and he did this series on the biblical
maps of meaning.
No, he did that, but like I was really into this. He did this lecture series, and I highly recommend everybody watch it.
I also recommend it.
It's called The Psychological Significance of the Biblical Stories.
Yes.
So he has this amazing, like he's talking about, I'll give you an example. So he's talking about like the Jesus as Jungian avatar.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So he says, okay, this guy Jesus, how is this guy able to go to his death knowing that he's going to be tortured, knowing that he's going to do that? How is he able to do that with acceptance and like sort of like go there, right? How is he able to do that? Not run away or whatever. And he said the reason is because he had his life attached to his relationship with God meant that he had his meaning of his life was so big, so powerful that he could withstand any suffering.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so his point, that's why like the cross becomes like a weighing mechanism. So like, for example, if your job in life is to have fun, okay, cool. Fine, whatever. When the suffering comes, because guess what? You're on the cross.
Yeah.
You're dying right now.
Yeah.
Everybody you know is dying right now.
Yeah.
You will feel that pain because you're a temporal being.
Yeah.
So when the suffering comes, going to the club is not going to get it done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like when you get cancer, when you get friggin' hit by a truck and you're paralyzed, you need something more. Jesus had that in his relationship with the Father. And so his point and that's why, so metaphorically, that's why his life made sense. It regenerated.
Yes.
He was reborn because his
Yes.
suffering and the meaning balanced out.
Yep.
So Peterson's point is, well, where are you? Do you find the highest good that you can find in your life and dedicate your life to that, because guess what? You're going to need it.
Yeah.
Because the suffering's coming, the flood is coming.
Yeah.
You better build your boat. And this stuff really resonated with me.
It's
never
really
took the Bible.
I myself, Jordan Peterson played a big role in my development of theology
Jordan.
as well. So it's quite interesting. But he himself, I think to this day, doesn't call himself a Christian.
Who knows? I don't know.
But his interpretation of Scripture is incredibly interesting and very good if you're coming at all this stuff from an atheist perspective.
100%. 100%. But one day on his podcast, he has this guy on named Bishop Robert Barron.
Oh, so he had Barron on.
Yeah,
and
that's how I met Barron. Because I would never have listened to Bishop Barron because he's got a Roman collar on. I'm not listening to you. He's probably off like diddling a kid.
Yeah,
like I don't know what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
So he's got this guy on, and he says so Bishop Barron goes into, yes, Jordan, they're great stories. And they're true.
Right.
And God created you for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's to realize that, you were created in the Imago Dei, and you're supposed to accept that that's the case. And
the Imago Dei?
Imago Dei means in Latin the image of God. You were created in the image of God.
Right. Imago Dei.
So like your mind and your journey in your life, as St. Augustine said in the Confessions, Lord, you made us for yourself. Therefore, our hearts are restless until they rest in thee.
Yeah.
So therefore, my whole digital nomad thing, my whole traveling around thing, what was I really looking for? All of these dalliances in Buddhism and Hinduism and moneyism and sexism and Tantraism and Ayahuascaism, whatever. I'm looking for God.
All paths lead to Christ when you're searching.
I was looking for the Lord.
Yeah.
I was looking for God. I was looking for a place of rest.
Of course.
And Bishop Barron gave me the intellectual argumentation to bring me over. So again, we talked about, I already had the beauty piece. He brought me into the truth and the goodness piece of the faith. And that's what brought me home to the Catholic Church.
So
praise
to
God.
Barron.
Thank you, Bishop Barron.
But talk
praise
to me,
the
there's
Lord.
a different element to this because you grew up Jewish. And so
Jesus was Jewish, right?
I know that, of course. But so do you consider yourself a Messianic Jew? Or
I don't know what that means.
to
To me, I'm still a Jew.
Yeah.
I'm still a Jew.
Yeah.
Because I'm just living out, I'm just a post.
You've just you're a Jew that's accepted Jesus as the Messiah, which is what Jesus was doing. He was the Messiah.
Exactly. Because I couldn't come up with a better, when I thought about the historical piece, there's a lot of people running their mouths about, hey, I'm the savior throughout history.
Yeah.
Why is it 2023 right now? Because this one guy in Galilee, came into Jerusalem on a donkey.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden the entire world changed? What's the logical explanation for that?
Unbelievable the amount of impact.
Right, exactly.
That Jesus'
what
life has
was he
had
just a
and
good
the narrative.
teacher? Was he a good sales guy?
There's more. There's much more. There's much more to it.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The story doesn't make sense.
Right.
Unless he rose. Unless he rose. That's the best explanation. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. But the best explanation, given what happened, is that he rose. Because why would everybody else be willing to, these doubters, be willing to go to their death, proclaiming that he did?
all the early martyrs, all the early people involved in the church, they gain nothing materially in this world by striving for this and dying by the faith.
Right. Exactly.
Which even that, I think, from an atheist perspective, let's say, is incredibly powerful.
Exactly.
And people should just read the history and try and understand why this narrative has been around for so long and is so powerful and so influential. Why is it 2023, like you said?
Yeah, exactly.
We're counting going back to one
dude.
And
one guy on a donkey
what happened to him?
in Judea somewhere. Come in, why? Just
far
ask
away
yourself
from
why.
where we are now. Far away from America, Australia.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's three basic questions in the journey of any in any sort of journey to faith. The first question is the question of God. What best accounts for this?
Yeah.
Okay, you either have I don't know, or you have it's all random chance, and you got a bunch of monkeys typing on keyboards,
endless
and eventually they'll come up with the perfect formula to do this.
Yeah.
Or you have something like the God of the Bible.
There is a creator. There is a creator. I think it's the only logical position
100%,
is the creator. And
100%.
I think Bishop Barron said it well when he said God is not irrational, he is supra-rational.
Yes.
It's deeper than rationality.
Right.
And he helped me a lot along my way.
It's amazing.
I can't look at this world and say this fell out of nowhere.
It doesn't make any sense.
Look at these houses here, for example. These houses, you wouldn't say they fell out of somewhere.
Right.
Anywhere in this world, anywhere in the universe, you'd find a house like this. You'd say someone
created
this.
Exactly,
someone designed this.
Right.
But now I have to believe this entire world just fell out of nowhere.
Right.
If you don't believe it fell out of nowhere, you're a dogmatic, irrational moron.
Makes no sense.
It's silly.
If you guys want the overview of the argument, highly recommend an interview that Ben Shapiro did with a philosopher by the name of Ed Feser, Edfeser. Look it up. He goes over the Aristotelian proof, which basically starts at change. The fact that change exists means that it's a actualization of a potential.
Yeah.
And it's like Aristotle talked about, there needs to be, either you have a logical impossibility. So you have a series of hooks that holding up a chandelier that never has a ceiling.
Yeah.
Right? So which is logically impossible.
Yeah.
Or you have an uncaused cause.
Yeah,
you have a beginning place.
St. Thomas Aquinas, I think, has this five proofs of
the
God.
Five ways.
In the medieval world, it was a given that it was the most logical position to. It's not even belief to know that God exists.
Right, of course.
It's not even a belief.
Well, according to Aquinas, you can come to know through your reason that God exists. There's certain things you have to accept on faith.
I really, really love Thomas Aquinas for that. Very much
amazing.
He smashes all the Richard Dawkins of the world, throws them out. The Sam Harrises, off they go.
No, amazing. And by the way, if you guys are interested in St. Thomas Aquinas, his order is called the Dominicans. They're called the Order of Preachers. And they have an amazing podcast called they set up called the Thomistic Institute for St. Thomas Aquinas.
So they
have a Thomistic Institute. It's the Order of Preachers. It was started by St. Dominic, and St. Thomas Aquinas was part of that.
And he was around what, like 1000 AD?
No, he's at 12, like around 1200. Yeah, 1200s.
Okay, but he's the main theologian in Catholic theology.
There's Augustine, and then there's many, but like he's probably him and Augustine are the big two. Augustine was very much like a translator of the Platonic tradition, which is more like the spirit, and Aquinas was more about like the Aristotelian sort of line. So translating the Hellenic from both lineages, Catholicizing, let's say, the Platonic lineage through Augustine, and then the Aristotelian lineage through Aquinas.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting stuff. Let's get it back to your story.
Sure.
So you were doing what? You were in Vienna, and when did your entrepreneurial side start? Was that the same side as your spirit? They kind of went hand in hand, I feel
What happened was that at the time I was doing my job that I did to travel was to do sales, cold call sales. So I would do an hour a day of cold call sales, and that's how I was traveling the world.
And you didn't like the job, but it paid well?
I didn't really like it. It was fine, but I was playing a lot of music. It gave me a lot of I was selling telecom, and then I was selling waste services. So like people just like garbage.
Give me a sales pitch now. What would you say to me if you
call me? The sales pitch was, hi, my name is Andrew Jacoby and calling from Waste Reduction Consultants. We help large apartment owners and managers reduce their waste hauling expenses. We average a 30% reduction in those expenses, and we do it all on a pay-for-performance basis. So if there are no savings, there are no fees.
Right.
Can I send you a case study of how we helped a company in your space save $1 million last year on their waste haul? Great. Thank you very much.
That's
over
cool.
and over and over.
And so what, you did that for an hour a day?
And I made
generate enough leads.
Couple 2,000-3,000 a month to like travel.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was it.
Wow.
But I wanted to expand it because I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find other people that wanted to cold call for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
right.
It's
like
very.
I tried to find other Americans. They're like, dude, I'm into crypto.
Yeah.
Like, I'm got this website.
Right.
I want some push button thing.
Right.
So they didn't want to grind cold calls.
Right.
And then I tried Filipinos and Indians, and I couldn't make it work because there's like a different culture.
Yeah.
I would be like, the Filipinos would like get embarrassed and then not show up to work the next day.
Yeah.
Or the Indians would tell me yes about everything. Yes, sir. Yes, it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Right? And I'm like, do you mean yes, or are you just saying yes because you won't say no to me for anything?
Yeah.
So like, if I say, are you a donkey? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So like, whatever.
Right.
But then I found this dude, Darko, in Macedonia, and I never heard anything about Macedonia.
Very cool.
And he started working with me.
Never heard about Macedonia.
Not that much about
You're showing you're American.
I had to leave the Schengen zone, and Macedonia was outside the Schengen zone.
When was this? Sorry, which year?
Well, this was 2000 and this was 2018.
Right.
So what I was doing was I was playing music on the street to make a living.
Cool.
So I'd kind of given up the idea of like entrepreneurship. I had chased like some stupid entrepreneurial. I did another business. Long story. It's a whole nother podcast.
So a lot of
Romania.
failures, and then back to
a lot
the
of
streets,
failures.
busking, and then
We did another business. We raised €6 million, and
Really?
kind of still to this day a failure. A lot of money raised, a lot of pissed off people, and it didn't work out. But anyway, so I was like, I wasn't super. So I just was like, let me just play the guitar again.
Yeah.
Let me just go on to the street. And so I applied to the Wiener Linie program for street musicians, and you have to like
Wiener Linie.
Yeah, the Wiener Linie means the Vienna train thing. So
to perform at the train
you had to sign up, and you had to like perform.
You have to
it's
go through
German,
some
dude.
process.
They're serious.
I love that.
They're not like anybody can do it. You had to go apply. I played on a stage. They filmed me.
Right.
They interviewed me to give me a permit to do this.
Okay.
Very serious. So I did that, and I was making a living at it. And
so just playing on that train.
Just playing on the streets. I was playing living. Americana, originals.
Right.
I wasn't really into playing the hits just because, like, I wanted to introduce people to American music that they don't get access to. Bluegrass, blues, country, stuff that I really liked. I didn't want to play. Like, you can make more money just like, like Wonderwall.
Yeah, sure.
Don't look back in anger.
No, but
whatever.
you have to have integrity as an artist.
Right.
To sing
I
what
just
you
wanted to. I wanted to introduce people to newer either songs that I wrote or songs that they hadn't heard of that I thought were good.
Yeah.
That I thought could artists that could enrich their lives.
Right.
And I wanted to do that. So I made enough money to live, but I was 45. My girl was like, hey, man, like,
street musician,
what's up, dude?
husband.
You're getting weird with this new age thing. You're just weirding out with the Eckhart Tolle. You're talking about there's
going
no
hard
past.
on Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, there's no past, no future.
Well, you were evangelizing Eckhart.
Yeah, I was getting a little weird. You're getting a little weird with that. I think, I'm just getting off the train. That's you. I'm getting off. So she booted me out. And I was like, okay, I can't really continue. I can make this work, but like, I'm not saving any money. I'm 45, lugging this equipment everywhere during rush hour.
Yeah, it's not
like
glamorous.
I love music, but like it's not a great. My grandfather said this to me. He said, "Look, music's a great hobby. It's a terrible business for most people."
Yeah.
And he's like, and I was right. And the only way to make it work is you're either a teacher or a wedding band player, really.
You
right, or whatever. And I didn't want to do either. I didn't want to be a wedding band player. I didn't want to play the hits. I don't like that.
No, that's not.
I'm not into it. I'm not into
musical part.
Some people are into it, and that's great. Like my guy in the band and the guy who I did White Chocolate with, we played the hits.
Yeah.
And he went on cruise ships, and he's still playing the hits today, and he loves it. Yeah. He's into it. It never fed me in the same way.
Yeah.
It's fun for a while, but I get sick of like.
Yeah.
I said. Anyway, so I said, okay, what am I going to do? I need some money. I'm running out of cash.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here in the woods meditating and playing music, and what am I going to do? So it just hit me. I called Darko. I'm like, dude, I'm coming to Macedonia.
How did you meet Darko?
I met him on the internet on a freelance website called Upwork.
You met him on Upwork, and you were hiring him?
I hired him for a previous business, and he had done a really good job that I had tried to start.
The business itself failed.
Right, but the business failed.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, Darko, we're starting this thing. I'm flying. My girl kicked me out.
Yeah.
I had to leave Vienna anyway.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's Skopje? He's like, right over here. I'm like,
where's Skopje?
So I showed up in Skopje.
Yeah.
I had one client. We had one client, a buddy of mine from the older days that I used to work for. Mm-hmm. He gave us $500 for the first month, and then he fired us the next month.
What did you do for?
We did cold calls. So I was teaching these Macedonian kids.
How to cold
So I had like 3 employees.
How old are these?
22.
How old
Darko's 30. Darko was like 30.
And you were about that. You were.
I was 45.
Oh, you were 45.
I was 45.
Right, yeah, you were 45. Okay.
So I started the business. We had one client for $500 the first month out of my Airbnb, turned it into a call center. And the next month we had no money and 3 employees.
Right.
And then little by little, we just grinded it out and built it up. At one point, we had 150 people around, 120
employees.
Yeah. Then we cut it down to 50 because we started to get better.
How was your hiring process to hire that many people? Were you
I did it like
involved?
I did it like they did it in the car business. I was like, "Can you breathe?
Yeah.
Can you speak English? Okay, come on, I'll put you on the phones, and if you can make it work, you make it work."
So it was hiring and firing. You fired a lot of people.
It was Darwin, dude. It was the jungle. It was the jungle.
Yeah, okay.
We hired 100. We hired 50 people. Keep 10.
Would they asking them, let's say on the podcast, would they say Andrew was a good person to work for, or do you think
you should ask them? I don't know.
No, they were. Or did they understand what the deal was? And
at this point, I was kind of in the midst of this conversion.
Right.
So to me, and
during all these Macedonians,
I was like, so what I was really interested in was teaching them about life. Because I don't have any kids.
Right.
So we have 5 values at the company. Number 1, always tell the truth. Number 2 is you have to work hard in this life. Like there's effort. So it's truth, effort. Number 3, service.
Yeah.
So you should always have an attitude of service in your life because you are a communal being.
Yes.
And to love means to will the good of other people.
Service gives you purpose. I believe
totally.
Strongly.
Service. Be grateful. Have a grateful heart.
Yeah.
And what was the guy? I haven't done this speech in a while.
I think that was the 5th one.
No, that was 4. Did I do 4? Anyway, so I would give this speech every week. At first, I gave it every day.
Right.
I would tell them.
Every day?
I gave it the value speech every day.
Were they listening intently or were they?
Because it was more I don't know. You have to ask them. It was more important to me that they straighten out their lives and not go down the path that I had gone down.
So you felt a sense of responsibility.
Right. So to me, a business is a high calling. It's a community of virtue that I'm trying to create.
Right.
That we treat each other with respect.
Yes.
Because my idea was like, I'm going to this poor country and I want to teach these people a skill that they can use outside of their country to make a better life for them and their family.
Yeah.
Some of these 24-year-old kids are sending money back to their parents in Albania or Serbia because they can't make any money in the winter because they only have like a farm stand in the summer. And in the winter, they basically starve.
Across the whole system.
Right? You get that. You get this.
I live in the Balkans.
Right. So like this is a real thing.
Yeah.
And so I loved that, but it really was important to me that these kids took their lives seriously and they took their time seriously and they tried to develop themselves into virtuous human beings.
And they were
that was my most important thing.
People all around Europe?
No, only U.S. We only have U.S. clients to this point.
And so what did people would respond? I would assume, hearing a Macedonian accent.
Yeah, people assume that. But like we picked people, really young kids, they've got good accents because they listen to YouTube all day. Yeah. So they've been growing up on it. So they have good so we built the business up. I was the CEO for 3 years.
Right.
Built it up to a certain size, and then I hired a CEO to replace me.
Right. And Darko's in the picture the whole time?
He's still there. Yeah, he's still going. Because he didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave. He's getting more out of it. To me, the fun part, I'm not a business guy, really. I'm an artist. I'm a creator.
Right.
Business is one vehicle to create. It happens to be a pragmatic one. It puts money in your pocket, and that's wonderful. Yes. But like, it's just a creative endeavor. Yeah. So I like the beginning part. You and me, hey man, let's do this podcast thing. Let's do this jam. Cool, bro, let's go do it. Yeah. That sounds fun. But once it becomes a big enterprise and it becomes more about spreadsheets and HR and finance, my eyes glaze over. Right. I'm back in school. Yeah, I don't care, dude. Yeah. Show me this contract. I can't even read this contract.
The paperwork. You're not
into that. I can't even read it. Yeah. I can't even tell you what it is, man.
But the value that you had, I guess, would be building that culture and just that endless hustle that you had in doing cold sales, and they took you as
I was just really
as an example.
I just found this little community of people in that world
in Skopje
that I just fell in love with these guys, man.
You really loved Macedonia.
I love these guys and girls, and they just and we were all in it together. It was like hardcore early days. Are we going to make this work? We're not. We worked 7 days a week. I wasn't a Christian at that point, so I was working on Sunday. 7 days a week. I ate, I worked out, and I worked.
And that was Next Sales.
That was Next Sales. That's my hat. Next Sales. Nextsales.io. And that was it. And so I built the business, and then I took my CEO in, who was actually, interestingly, my previous client. So I was his sales rep. He was the guy that built and sold the waste company.
Right.
So he started coaching. Yeah. And so he came in as our coach, and then he got sick of coaching because he's like, dude, nobody does what I say. So like coaching sucks. Yeah. I want to be back in the pilot's seat. Yeah. But I don't want to start from zero. Yeah. You've built the thing. It's a friggin' mess. Yeah. You don't know what you're doing. You're driving this car into a street. Yeah. Like into the friggin' wall. Yeah. So I'll help you fix it. Right. But let me take over. Yeah. So I'm like, dude, take it. Here's the keys. Take it. Here's the keys. Right. And then he cleaned it up. And so over the last year, he's been CEO. And the business
what are they selling at Next Sales?
We sell outsourced sales development as a service.
What does that mean?
So cold calling, appointment setting. So there's 2 steps in a B2B sale. Okay. The first step is you got to get an appointment with somebody to sell something. It's not like you go to the local store and say, duh, I want gum.
Yeah,
their gum. Give me
You need to have a meeting with the person
right. If you're selling a $100,000 consulting engagement, you got to talk to somebody.
Yeah, who has the power to make that decision.
Right. And so how do you find somebody? You got to talk to a lot of people. So you got to cold call.
Oh, so you have people cold calling to find the person of interest.
Yes, that's all we do.
Really?
That's all we do.
Wait, you set the meeting. All you do is find the right people and set the meetings.
That's
and you outsource that service.
They outsource it to us. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Then our clients so I hire
you to find me a meeting with the head of Toyota. Right.
Like let's say you have a big software that you're selling. Right. You're like, hey, dude, I need to talk to some people to sell this. I want to talk to these kind of people. Go get them. Right. I want to get on a meeting because I can't spend all day sending templated
this
emails.
Dude and this dude and this dude to find out who I need to speak to. I can't be sending
emails all day. I'm making a couple $100,000 a year.
Okay,
I can't be sending cold calls. I can't be making cold calls. You do that, and then when you're done and there's a meeting, now I'll step in because that's worth my time. So we do that role, and now currently we're at 50 people or so.
Yeah, you have 50 employees. How many clients do you have? Are they recurring?
Like 22. It's all recurring. Yeah. Our service is $4,800 a month.
And the business that it's actually done is all in America or across the world? Like,
it's all in America.
It's all
everything
in
America
baby.
right now. We'll be expanding eventually overseas, but right now it's all in America.
It's all about America. Baby.
All about the United States.
And so I guess moving to Macedonia and building that firm there was because of Darko.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
He's amazing.
You didn't even know what
Darko
Macedonia
is amazing. And Darko's, it's really interesting. So when I got off the boat, not on the boat, sorry, when I got off the plane to the bus, Darko's a very strange looking dude. He's got this wispy red beard. He's got this weird head. His teeth are all jacked up. He was super skinny at the time. He looked like a character out of the Lord of the Rings.
Right.
And I felt, the minute I saw him, I was like, this guy's like my little like gnome that's gonna like take me up the mountain.
Right.
Like I thought he was like my spirit guide. I felt that immediately. I'm like, who is this dude?
Macedonian
I felt like he was like a spiritual being. I thought he was like this weird like,
really?
And I felt that immediately. And I'm like, this is the guy. And Darko, if you're listening to this, is an amazing human being.
Yeah.
He is one of these people that is just like, I can't say enough about him. Like the whole business exists because of him. It really does.
You wouldn't be able to build an outsourcing operation in Macedonia. You wouldn't know the culture. You didn't have a network of contacts.
He built it all. I mean, I told him what to do. The trade was, I'm old and I know what to do.
Right.
I just don't have the energy or the desire to do it. You're young. You don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
I could tell you, and then he just did it.
Right.
So instead of me just running my mouth, which I'm always doing, I would run my mouth to him, and he would go create what I'm saying.
Right.
And he'd come back and be like, okay, I did it. I'm like, wow, we have a website now? Wow, that's amazing. Okay, what do we do next, boss? Well, we cold call.
He had a lot of respect for you and your knowledge and your experience.
Right.
He took direction very well from you.
But he was just one of these people that grows. He was like just a growth mindset guy.
That's great.
That's what you need. Anybody listening, that's what you need.
It's all about growth mindset.
You just need to grow. Like he just was always learning more. He transformed his body. He bulked up 20 kilos like of muscle.
Yeah.
He like quit doing all kinds of stuff that he was doing that were off track, and he got married, had a kid. Like he just was like one of these people that I look at him and I'm like, man, you're amazing. Because that's the thing, like when you're growing a people business, everybody's into tech.
Yeah.
In reality, when you find the right people, there's such a multiplier. The trouble is they're rare.
The most important asset for any business, and it's incredibly rare to find the right person and create the right synergy.
Yes,
it's very difficult.
It's everything. Your team is everything.
100%.
Everything.
Very important.
Do not settle. If you're working with people and you're thinking about any of those people and being like, B player,
don't.
Fire them. They're not doing anybody.
You know, Instagram, when they sold Instagram to Mark Zuckerberg, they had a team of 13 people. 13 people built Instagram to a place to sell it for $1 billion because they had the correct team culture, just the absolute.
Killers,
they were all A game, not even A game, like super A game.
They were killers,
players.
Man. That's what you need if you're going to work with people. But don't let the fact that there are going to be weak people stop you from hiring. You got to hire. You got to collaborate with people, and you got to. But you just have to be ruthless about like when it's not working out.
Yeah.
Stop
you
the collaboration,
say, bro.
Yeah.
Good to know you. See you later, homie.
Yeah, it's like
that's it. That's
my name's Paul, and that's between y'all. Like you go do your thing.
Paul, and that's between
you go
y'all,
do your thing,
baby.
man. You go do your thing because
right.
So but it's really important because if you don't have other people, especially if you're starting a business, having Darko there as a co-founder in the beginning was so important.
Yeah, do you feel that you got lucky with Darko, or did you know immediately, like when you went into a deeper
it was a blessing. No, it's the
partnership
Lord,
with him? It just kind of you just went with it. Like you can't plan it, really. You know.
I don't know, man. To me, it's a God thing. Everything's a God thing. So like I just go by that. But if I'm thinking about it, I have this ability because I've worked with a lot of people and I'm an intuitive person because of music.
Right.
I have an intuition about people.
Right.
And I go with that. I live my life very intuitively.
Right.
I'm very much just in the day. I don't do a lot of planning of stuff, because the 9/11 thing. I don't believe in tomorrow, essentially.
Right.
I just wake up and I'm like, I want to serve God today and serve my fellow man. Like that's what I want to do on a daily basis.
Very powerful way to wake up.
Right. That's whatever.
Very powerful way to wake up.
That's what I'm trying to do. So what that means is that I'm much more about like what does my intuition tell me about what's going on in my life at any moment. And when I met Darko, I'm like, this is a good dude. I like this guy. He's smart. I like talking to him.
Yeah.
He comes back to me, and every time I just see him increasing his knowledge. I see him with a work ethic. He's got intelligence. He's got street smarts. Now, you can be smart and an idiot at the same time.
Of course.
Because you don't have that like. And he's also one of these
people.
You know what's interesting about Darko, and this is very interesting about people, is that like he's an amazing politician, and I mean this in the following way. is that he doesn't let his emotions get involved in any negotiation.
Right.
So like he's able, one of these people, like I'll get emotional because you see I'm like an animated person.
Yeah.
And you got in a fight, I'll get like, and like, I'll, you know, and I'll be like, F you. And
right.
we're done. You know, like I'll get all crazy and emotional. Right. And I make bad decisions sometimes this way. Like things fall apart, relationships break because of my impulsivity.
Yes.
Because of my, and he doesn't have that. He can like be sitting in that same conflict and just be calm. And be like,
he deals with conflict in a very good way.
Let's just not let's not get out of control here.
Yeah.
Let's keep it calm. Like, what are we doing? How do we solve the problem? We all have different problems here. How do we get together and solve these together so we can move down the field? And I'm like,
yeah, right.
You know, like, you did this to me. Do you know who I am? Do you realize
I'm from America.
Do you realize who you're dealing with? Do you know how?
Yeah.
You know, and that sucks.
Yeah.
And he's amazing in that way. And so that's what I mean. He's like what they would call in politics, like he's a realist.
How long have you been in partnership with him for?
What's up?
How long have you been working together?
6.5 years or 7 years.
And
we've only had one issue the entire time. We've never had a fight except for one time we got a little bit like he did something that I didn't like and whatever. It was like one time.
Resolved it,
in almost 7 years.
Yeah.
And we worked together through hell.
It's so important finding the right business partner.
Through hell, through clients stealing money, through employees stealing our business idea and trying to steal our employees and take them out, through craziness.
So that is something that happened. You'd have employees say, well, these guys are doing it. I'm going to go in.
We've had that multiple times. People steal the business idea. People,
and how can you stop that?
We had a client stiff us for $16,000 and we had to pay out the employees.
Yeah.
We bought the labor from the employees essentially. The client didn't pay for it, so we had to pay the employees.
You have to cover it. Well,
right.
good on you
16
for honoring
grand.
that.
That went into my personal dip.
So that hurts.
So these kind of situations, and Darko and I were able to go out, have a shot of rakia, have a chicken, at our favorite mahana or whatever, and just be like, look, man, how do we solve the problem? I'm a carnivore, so they eat a lot of meat.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's good.
So how do we solve this problem?
Right.
And are we in the right business? Should we quit? Are we doing anything here? Because in the beginning, it's very much, this isn't going to work. Yeah. We don't have product market fit.
Yeah.
We bring on a client, we lose the client. We bring on an employee, the employee starts smoking dope and hitting on all the chicks in the kitchen.
Right.
And we're doing sexual harassment here. We're not doing business.
Right.
Right? We're all kinds of problems.
Right.
And then at one point, it works. Now it's a different level. The business is a different level. There's still problems, but it works.
Why does it work now? What do you think brought it to this point in a few sentences?
Just because we figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, just enough iterations, and we're not that stupid.
Yeah.
And we have enough experience of doing different things.
Mistakes, more or less.
Yeah, we make less mistakes over time. We've gotten better at what we do. Simple.
Right.
And we brought in now a serious CEO who's sold multiple businesses.
Right.
He sold a business to a public company.
Right.
So he's a serious dude.
Right.
And he comes in and he's like, okay. All I cared about was growth. I was into sales. I wanted to hit this. I want to go.
Yeah,
I want to be
more figures.
I want to hit the 7-figure mark. That was my goal. That was my North Star. I want to get to 7 figures a year. I want to build $1 million. Whatever. That was my thing.
Yeah.
I didn't care if the profit was bad.
Right. You just wanted revenue.
I wanted the driving distance number. I didn't care about the score.
Yeah.
I just wanted I can hit the longest drive.
Yeah.
Dude, but you shot 120 on the course.
Yeah.
You suck.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I want to hit $1 million business.
Okay.
So that was my goal, and all I know is growth. So anyway, Bryce came in, who's our CEO, and he's much
American?
more. Yeah. Okay. He's a much more serious, polished businessman.
Yeah.
So he can do operations in a way that I can't.
Right.
So he just came in and cleaned everything.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's there just sitting, tweaking knobs every week. Okay, what are we doing wrong? How do we make it better?
Right.
And we're systematically operationalizing ideas. Not like, this idea, let's do it. We're switching. We're doing a different thing today. We're tearing out the CRM and we're putting in HubSpot. I saw this video. It looks good. That's how I do it. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Right?
Yes.
Impulsive, all over the place, creative artist dude. And he's not. He's operations guy, tweak knobs. Everybody calm down. We're getting just a little bit better. Everyone's getting a little bit better, 1% better every day. And over time, that just compounds and compounds and compounds. And the growth will come, but first we got to fix the funnel. First we got to fix the machine so we don't just poop it out the back. You bring it in, you poop it out the back.
Amazing. I wanted to ask.
Sure, man.
You've had a lot of success outsourcing in Macedonia.
Yeah. Or in the region, not just Macedonia.
In the Balkan region.
Yeah.
You tried outsourcing, you said, briefly in India and Philippines and that. Do you think the Balkans is a better region for outsourcing? Do you recommend it to other entrepreneurs?
I totally recommend the Balkan region. I think it's an amazing region with amazing people.
Why would you recommend the Balkans over, let's say, the Philippines or Asia or whatever?
I like the Philippines too.
Yeah.
It's not that they're bad. It's just that because look, India's huge.
Yeah.
There's a ton of people in India. I haven't worked with all of them.
Yeah, it's just
right?
straight up billion and a half.
The Philippines is huge.
Yeah.
I haven't worked with all the people.
Right.
And we've had great employees. We actually had employees, like a couple of Filipino employees who had married Balkan men.
Oh, right.
And so and they were great.
Yeah, true.
But in general, here's the reason I like it. Number one, culturally, there's nothing lost in translation.
Yeah.
I talk to Darko like I'm talking to you.
Right.
And because it's like a Judeo-Christian culture. It's a similar culture.
Yeah.
Not better or worse.
Yeah.
Hindus are great.
No, you're just close.
Buddhism
You're able to communicate
great or whatever. Yeah,
better.
so I can just say to him, and he's not afraid to say, dude, you suck. That's a stupid idea.
Yeah.
And the Filipinos would never argue with me. The Indians they were more like, you're the boss.
Yes, sir. Yes,
you're
sir.
okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right.
I don't need that.
Yeah, you can't work
I'm an
with
idiot
them.
sometimes.
Yeah.
I need you to say to me, bro, I'm not with you on this. Like, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And for this reason and this reason. And we need to fight it out.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in the Balkan region. So there's a good level of intelligence. There's a good level of education, actually. Yeah. And there's like a hustle culture, which I like, at least not with everybody, but like, because you got to hustle, you got to get things done in the Balkans. It's hard.
Yeah.
You got to be like entrepreneurial just to get your like papers.
Yeah.
Done. Like, so Darko's always like, Darko knows how to manipulate.
Yeah, he knows how to play the game.
He knows how to play the game, and that's entrepreneurial.
Yeah, it's very
cool.
Cool.
So you have an entrepreneurial culture. And the reason I picked Darko was because he was in an MLM. He was in a multi-level marketing company, like a Amway type of deal.
That's not great.
And I know, but I liked it because it means, number one, he's a believer. And number two, he was into sales and he's willing to commit to it. He's a dreamer.
And he's a dreamer.
He's a dreamer. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're not getting paid in the beginning. So you got to believe in the dream.
Right,
you got to be capable of having a bigger vision for what you can accomplish with your business.
And you're giving him a much more reasonable business than an MLM to have as his vehicle.
Well, he had another business before that had failed. He had a coffee shop in Skopje. Coffee shop / fashion shop combo, and he had failed at that.
Right.
And so he was really like, he went into a lot of debt, and he was working for this German company after it was some crypto thing, and so he was really kind of like lost. And so we helped each other. I'm not like I really helped him. I said, no, dude, get out of that. Like, get out of this deal. Get out of working for time for money. You can get back in the entrepreneurial game. Yeah. Doesn't matter. So this is like the American thing. It's like, bro, it doesn't matter. Just start again. Try again. Take another swipe. The European mentality is weird, man. Like my ex, and like my friends in Europe, they're like, "Oh, did you go to school for that? Like, you don't have a like they're all just obsessed with like school.
Oh, it's terrible.
You gotta go to school.
Yeah,
like
that's gotta end.
I didn't,
Keep going.
I didn't have any like. We don't have that in America. Doesn't matter if you went to school. Just do the thing.
Just do it.
Just go do it.
Just get it done.
And if you fail, if you fall down, just stay in the game. So that's my advice to you. If you want to start a business, just start the friggin' business. Okay, if you're brand new and young, go work for an entrepreneur for a couple of years and learn on his dime. That's a good way to go. That's fine. Sure. Once you get a little bit of that under your belt, go out and just
if you have a good idea that you believe in, don't listen to the haters. And
just go.
Don't let your insecurity control you.
Yeah, man. Just go and do honest business. Be an honest. It's more important because this is what I was trying to explain to my employees. Whether you win or lose in business, what's more important is the goodness that if you, like St. Thomas Aquinas says, there's 4 replacements for God in your life.
Right.
Power, pleasure, wealth, and honor.
Really?
That's it. Those are the 4 major replacements.
Power, pleasure, wealth, and honor.
And the addiction to money is an especially dangerous addiction. Here's why. If you have an addiction to pizza, okay, here's 50 pizzas, bro. Go eat 50 pizzas.
Yeah.
You're going to be done after a pizza and a half. Even if you're like the most addicted pizza guy in the world.
Yeah.
But money,
it's never enough.
Bill Gates can be pissed off at night because Jeff Bezos got more money.
Yeah, he's got a bigger.
It's never ending.
It's
So what you're really looking for in your life is a connection to the source of life, which is God. Right? And his son, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And I would argue his church that he created called the Catholic Church. But anyway, separate topic. But that's what you're really looking for.
Right.
And the reason you're looking for that is because you want to be a good person. So you want to be as close to that goodness which created the world as you possibly can get.
Yeah.
And you want to align yourself with that.
Yeah.
You want to be an honest person, tell the truth. The word made flesh. God became a human. The logos. You want to be attached to that.
Yeah.
You want to follow that line. Whether you're successful in business or not, you treat people well. You work hard. You give your best effort. You're honest. Those are more important. How you play the game is more important than winning or losing. Because if you're playing the game and you're cheating and you're winning, you're not really winning. I don't care. Because you know you're cheating.
Yes. Integrity,
so don't cheat.
Incredibly important.
Don't cheat. Yeah. Be an honest player.
God's watching.
Amen. Amen. And the moral law
God keeps you accountable as well. When you live with God, you walk with God, he keeps you accountable.
Amen.
Whereas if you don't have that, cheating can become the truth.
Right.
Cheating,
Amen.
You know,
right.
It's very easy to throw all that away.
Amen. And so the how much working with good people will enrich your life is amazing. Yeah. It's really powerful.
So your team is good people, huh?
Man, it's great people, man. I love those people. It's great to work with them. I've developed some really deep relationships over the years with them. It's kind of strange to not work there anymore. Yeah,
and you were saying briefly before we recorded all this, you don't have an office, eh? You guys don't. It's not
we
an
did
office
before
culture.
COVID, but then COVID hit and we went all remote.
And
so
now
we don't
you're
have an
all remote,
office anymore.
so they're almost like
they're all remote
digital nomads.
Yeah,
do they travel though?
Some of them do. Yeah, we have like Loretta. She's like off on Instagram doing her thing, and Ibiza or whatever. God bless you, Loretta. And you know, so we got that, but like most of them are just staying. You know, most of them stay pretty local. Some of them will travel, but you know, I always tell them. I tell the young kids, I'm like, look, the travel thing is okay, do it for a little while, that's cool. But ultimately what you should really do is get married to that girl, you know, get married, have a bunch of kids, join your local church.
I'm with you.
Teach, you know, have as many kids as you possibly can.
I'm with
right?
you.
Like have a big family.
Crank them out.
Teach their like whatever, go be their coach at their little league team, get a wife, love her, go to church, right? Like live the normal life. That's the best life. Like I think it's is it Chesterton or Johnson? One of these two guys. I think it might have been Chesterton. He said
Chesterton. The most sorry.
G.K. Chesterton's an English writer, and Samuel Johnson also. But he said that he has this line. He said, "The most extraordinary thing in the world is an ordinary man with his ordinary wife and their ordinary kids."
Right.
That's the most extraordinary thing there is.
Because everyone's wrapped up in chaos.
Right. And this whole digital nomad thing, forget it. It's crazy. Like, it's just about strange consumerism and weirdness. It's
so you're not into the digital nomad? I mean, you're here. You bought a ticket. You're talking to me. We're having a good time, aren't we?
I have a problem with it because the reason, well, there's lots of reasons, but number one, I'm here because I like to, like, it gives me an opportunity. First of all, I'm here for business. Like I'm here at this because Philip and I and Stefan and I are thinking about doing business in a particular couple of projects. So I'm here for that.
Right.
But the other reason is because if I'm on the road like this, I have a story that resonates with digital nomads because I was one for a really long time. Right. And this is a way for me to try to tweak, you know, push them a little bit, whatever direction I can. Towards the Lord. That's my reason. From nomad to pilgrim, because I believe
from nomad to pilgrim. I love that. You saying that
from nomad to pilgrim. That's my ministry, and it's not started yet. But
that's the name of your ministry. Yeah, you were
from nomad to
starting
pilgrim.
a podcast. You've already started.
I have multiple podcasts. So I have all Catholic podcasts. So one is the cultureoflifepodcast.com. One is Men for Life, the Men for Life podcast.com, and then we have the Called. And then we have the Dominican option.
And if someone was to just Google your name, Andrew Jacoby,
you wouldn't probably find it. You'd have to go to the different websites, which you can probably put in the show notes.
I'll put them in the show notes.
But
make sure you send them to me.
You wouldn't find them anywhere yet because I'm not that like online. It's like I haven't. We're just mostly focused on recording the podcast.
Right.
So I want to use the new media to spread the gospel message or the message of the truth of the faith, and that everybody's life has meaning. Yeah. And that the meaning of your life is to find the Lord and then dedicate your life to the Lord, to the highest good that there is. That's what Peterson's talking about, even though he's a little confused.
He doesn't get it.
Means.
Yeah, he's almost there. He's almost there. But he brought both of us.
Right, yeah. So,
which is funny that he couldn't himself get there.
Right.
But he's helped not just me and you, countless
but
people.
It'll change your, I mean, it's so, as you would know.
Yeah.
Like when you bring the Lord into your life, it just is really
whole
powerful.
Perspective changes. Everything. Your worldview is completely
everything.
different.
It's so
and
so
there's
powerful.
Nothing really bad about it. It's only good.
Well, I mean, it's you can't like go like for me. I have various addictive like things some not great like past with the ladies, you know, like in the musician thing. Like there was some. Let's just say that I was using people instead of loving them for a period of time where I was trying to get certain behaviors without committing to what I should have been committing to.
Yeah, well,
right. And so, and I'm deeply ashamed of that behavior. But anyway, I did it.
It's okay.
So,
we're all sinners.
Yeah, whatever. Right. So, but I mean, like, so when you come to the Lord and you're taking it seriously, then you have to follow. You know, you have to like. You know, there's sin. You believe in sin. And what we do in the modern world is
sin changes you, like to even feel that there is an aspect, there is something like sin, because it's totally forgotten about.
Right now the idea is
New
like
age things like just be free, just do whatever you want. Polyamory, you know, all this crap. People talk about open relationships like it's a reasonable choice. It's like, are you crazy?
Yeah, it's
you're
so interesting.
Far
That's
away
so
from
interesting.
God. Like you're so far away.
Yeah, 100%.
You need to start walking in the light.
Yeah,
and it's so clear to you.
It's so
that
true.
That's not like polyamory is not going to make you happy.
Think about it this way. Think about it mathematically.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of complexity in a relationship, man, woman.
Yeah.
Let's represent that complexity with the number X.
Yeah.
Like just
sure.
It's really difficult to do this thing, right? Like you're a man, I'm a man, she's a woman.
Yeah.
We sort of see things differently. We have different chemicals pumping through us. Now you're saying to me the solution to the problems of this complexity is to add another woman or man in, right? Like, so let me see.
Madness.
If you do that, will X increase or decrease? Will the complexity go up or the complexity go down?
People just want to be cheating in the open, but you're still cheating. Like that's the end of the day. It's ridiculous.
It's worse than that, because we have this pagan god called the human orgasm. That's our god, and this god it's worse than that, because this god we sacrifice children to. In the United States, we sacrifice 3,000 children on a daily basis to the god of the human orgasm, because people want to have sex, but they don't want to have the babies that come. So when the babies come, they throw them away like plastic toys if they don't fit into some, right? So that's our view of the human person. So if you're out of the light, then your view of the human person, the value of human life goes down, because it's all instrumentalized. There's no ultimate good. There's no ultimate value. You're not really, you're just a monkey on a rock floating in infinite space. You don't have any real value.
It's very hard to find value and meaning in life with that cosmological.
So we all look back at like, you know, slavery and say, oh my gosh, well, like, how could those idiots, they were like, how could those idiots have thought that like, you could own another human being, right? Like that was so we look back and like, we're superior. In 200 years, 300 years, people are going to be looking back at us and saying, so they thought you could like just kill the babies even though they knew they were like babies?
I would love to think that, assuming that morality progresses, but you know what I mean? It's not clear. I agree with you that that's how it should be in 200 years. But I mean, it's hard to say whether we're going further away from God as we go as a society and stuff. And most people, unfortunately, their morality comes from the herd. It comes from the people around them, and they're not capable, or they're not interested in delving into theology, philosophy, and these are deep questions. It takes a long time to even wrap your head around this stuff. It's easy to just say, look, these 3 of my best friends do this, like, yeah, I'm with them, whatever.
Right, 100%.
And
true.
It's if you've made it all the way to this podcast, clearly you're not one of them. You're a deep thinker. Thank you for listening.
Amen.
In, baby.
Amen,
What's
hallelujah.
up?
I agree with you. It's true. People don't want to think about these things, because ultimately it's like what the devil said to Eve and to Adam. You can be like gods. That's ultimately what it is. And interestingly, Thomas Merton, who's a Trappist monk, or was a Trappist monk, had this thing. Is like, who did Eve go to? Who did the devil go to? He first went to Eve. So the anima. Right, he went to the anima, which is the feeling part of you, the feminine part. So he's talking, it'll feel good.
Right.
You can do all that stuff you want. You'll be like God, right?
Yeah.
So that's how we get sold on this. It's not about thought. It's not rational. It's
no.
like, hey, man, you want to do that sex thing? It's okay.
Just
go do it, bro. Ayahuasca, bro, good. Man, you're good. It feels good, right?
Yeah.
Do it. No problem.
Yeah.
That's the devil's pitch.
Right.
That's who he pitched Eve first. So think about that. He pitched Eve, pitched our feeling, the feminine side. He pitched this like feeling, man, it's going to feel good. This is cool. And so anyway, that gets into some deeper stuff. But ultimately, business, everything that you do in life, it's important that that you're doing it honestly, that you're speaking the truth, that you're telling the truth, and that
Integrity.
you're doing what you can to
I think it's
live the best life.
You know
that
what
you
I
can.
think? Being an artist, both of us, it's like the question of integrity is so important. At least it was for me. I just wanted to make sure I was creating truly. Do you know what I mean? That was so important to me, and I think that's helped me along my business path. And I hope this podcast will be full of integrity.
Yeah.
And I think we've had an incredible discussion.
Amen.
Andrew Jacoby, what's up, baby? You've been listening. Jacoby. Look.
It was great,
what's
man.
my last name?
Oh, yeah, I'm not even going to go there, man. I'm not even going to go. It was great, man. It was awesome. Look at this.
And we're in the Swiss Alps. We're here for Swiss Nomad Fest. And Andrew's just one of the kinds of amazing people that comes to these kind of events. And thank you very much for listening in. I'm Milan Milutinovic. This is the Podcast Hostel. That's what's up, baby.
See ya. That was great. That was fun.
All right. Well, I think that was a great interview. I think Andrew's a pretty interesting person. I think I'll probably have him on the show at some point again to talk deeper about philosophy and faith. He's even got his own podcast. He's got more than one. He's got a few. They're all focused kind of on his faith and his philosophy and his kind of missionary work. And I've linked them in the description if you're kind of quite fascinated by this man. It's worth checking out. And as a little thanks on making it all the way down to the end of this episode, I've got a little treat. Andrew sent me a recording that he made with his girlfriend at the time that he was in a cult and being a kind of a new age hippie type. And it's a very cool little song. I've kind of been listening to it on repeat, and it's very cool to be able to share this with you. So thank you very much for sticking along to the end of the show. This is Sarah's song by Andrew Jacoby and Sarah Gottlieb.
She don't got no legs that hold her down, hold her down, hold her down, hold her down. I don't know, but it's been said she got wings that made her let all that made her let fly away. Fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away. Every time I touch her hand, take her places she can't stand, love me anyway. Baby, please, baby, please, baby, please, baby, please, baby, please, baby, please, baby, please. You are my one true. Take me to where I belong in your arms. Love me tender and love me true. You know, babe, I got news for you. I got news for you. News for you. News for you. News for you. My love is gentle, my love is sweet. Kiss me soft on my chin and cheeks, on my chin and cheek, 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 chin and cheek.